Presented by American Manufacturing Solutions, your total logistics partner, investing in Rider Nation Station and St. Mary's, Ohio, and to our other fine sponsors.
Good evening and welcome to Rules of the Game with Mark. Mark, thanks again for coming.
Always a pleasure, Zach.
Mark is live again in front of a pub and pizzeria on Spring Street in St. Mary's. Mark, it is Halloween and it is snowing outside.
Gotta love Ohio weather, Zach.
That's right. Mark, unbelievably, here we go into week 10, the last week of the regular season. Rough Riders had a big game over Salina last week, a big win, and they're looking to get another win this week against Defiance. We got a lot of clips, though, from the game.
Let's take a look at it.
So let's go ahead and jump right in. Hopefully we'll have some more more audience questions from here at Gwen Aries later on. So we're going to jump right into the clips. The first one we had right here was a potential horse collar on Ty Howe against Ty Howe. Ty Howe, as the running back, was coming through the line and then taken down the Salina defender.
Yeah, that really doesn't quite fit the parameters of the horse collar rule. He wasn't, even though the defender may have grabbed him up by the nameplate of the jersey, he didn't really pull him backwards, so to speak, and to the ground. He swung him around, but Ty landed on his chest, so that doesn't fit the parameters of a horse collar tackle. So it was correctly called on the field, and we've talked about that.
Right? We've talked about that in previous episodes. You usually got to have more than just the jersey. You got to have the pad. And you got to make the motion backwards
and pull him down from behind backwards. That's correct.
All right. So fortunately for Salina, there it didn't get called like that. And number 10, Trey Fisher, makes a great tackle. This is a high energy rivalry game.
Right.
After he makes the tackle, he kind of swings his fist over in the air above the player, and it was called for taunting, unsportsmanlike.
Yeah, that's a tough one right there, Zach. I mean, that's hard. He was excited. He made a great play. Is it enough? In the eyes of the official, apparently it was. Another official may have just let it go. It really wasn't prolonged. It really wasn't designed to draw attention to himself. It was just I'm excited type play. If you're going to get something like that, get it early.
Okay.
So it would stop any other stuff like that there.
So officials will look at that as to what point in the game it is.
Oh, definitely.
If it's early on, you're going to call more of those unsportsmanlike to make sure
as a referee,
it nips it in the bud.
Yeah, as a referee, I may get an iffy, quarterback, roughing call early. And when you do that, it tends to settle everybody down a little bit, and then they play like they're supposed to and not come and attack the quarterback. Yes, you try to get the football, you try to sack the quarterback, but you cut out the unnecessary hits. And when you get it early, it puts a stop to that in most cases.
So he was maybe just trying to stop there from being some sort of fight on the field or something like that happening later on. But all right, well, this next play that we have was a false start by the Salina running back.
Okay.
So it's a little tough to see in this first view here that we have. But the Salina running back takes off just a little bit of a hop there in the back.
Half a step too early, possibly.
Yeah, we can see it a little bit better in this other clip from the side.
Yeah, let's
just a little hop there.
Yeah, he gets a little bit of a. You're right. It's a little bit of a jolt right before the snap, and that's enough. Later on in the game, if the game's out of hand, we got JVs playing something like that. We're going to let go because it's such a bang bang type thing. But these are varsity kids, and they're the rule says you can't move until the ball snapped, and he was just a little ahead of the snap.
Well, to be fair, I wanted to include also a false start by a St. Mary's running back.
There you go.
So if you're going to look all the way to the right of the screen, number 12, Ty Howe.
Okay.
He actually doesn't even take a step. He just leans a little bit before the play.
Let's see if we can see him leaning from back here. Yep. Yeah, just a little bit. I think you're going to see a little bit better on the next clip on the sideline view as he's out here as a wingback. Yeah, he really, they get set, and he's kind of just leaning, and he got off balance, and that was enough. That's noticeable out there to the wing official, and it was probably a good call.
Yeah, and so leaning is enough. You don't have to take a step. Just having any kind of motion forward is enough.
He had forward motion right there.
And he was set, right?
Could have let the play go, but he was moving forward at the snap, which would be considered an illegal motion call.
Okay.
Which they could have let go and then flagged it and then brought it back. But it was enough where they said, no, he missed snap count. We're going to shut this down right now and penalize from here.
Well, to get back to basics here, we have a holding call on the next clip on Salina.
All right.
We're going to look towards the center of the line. the center and the right guard.
Okay.
There's a little bit of a pileup. Honestly, I don't see much of a hold, but it was called.
Wow, that's difficult. The point of attack is going out wide. Let's see if we can see something bigger here by the right guard and center. I don't really. Boy, I don't know. That's tough.
Yeah, I mean, I'm all for penalties against Salina during the game, but I didn't see much on that one. So
yeah, especially the point attack going wide, there wasn't really enough maybe to justify that one.
Okay, well, the next call here was a somewhat of a controversial call, pass interference on St. Mary's. I was calling the game, and I frankly did not see pass interference there. It looks like number 7 maybe has a hand on the hip, but just wanted to know your thoughts on it.
Maybe, yeah. Let's take a look, see if we can see it from this angle. That's a little tougher. I like the first angle a little bit better. He may have been pushing him a little bit from behind and maybe knocked him off balance. I think our intrepid production crew here can get that play back.
Yeah, let's look at this. The center of the field.
Wow, that's tough. That's a tough one there. The play's coming at the back judge, and he sees some contact. Is it enough? Maybe. It's tough to tell from this angle. It's definitely not feet getting tangled up. It could have been a case where the Salina receiver was slowing down, and the St. Mary's receiver just didn't notice that and ran up the back of him. And that's maybe what we had there.
Are defenders allowed to touch the receiver no matter as long as they don't?
There's no prohibition against that.
Okay.
I mean, you just can't prevent the other player from making a catch or moving towards the ball or something along those lines. And when the St. Mary's defender was beat on that play. So now he's got responsibility to do things right because he's clearly behind the play. So he's got to do things correct. Happened there. He might have given him a little shove. It doesn't have to be much to push him off balance. And that's maybe what happened there.
So simply contact between the defender and the right receiver isn't enough. It's got to be some sort of
restriction that prevents the. Now, bear in mind, both players have rights to the football.
Right.
All right, but you can't take that away from the other receiver. A lot of times, some of these kids are coached like you see in college. The receivers go up and you have the defender maybe around the waist of the receiver, and that's fine as long as he doesn't pull him, twist him, turn him just enough, and it just takes a little bit to throw the receiver off balance to take the ability to catch away.
Okay. Well, this next clip was a pass by Salina at the very end of the first half. They were trying to get into the end zone. They let the clock go all the way down. This was the very last play of the half, and they threw it out of bounds.
Okay.
Just was wondering, what, as an official, are you looking for during this catch? Do you look to see the catch first? Do you look to see where feet are first?
That's a good play right there because that official on the sidelines has got everything. He's got ball. He's got line, he's got everything. So you've got to have feet first before you can go to the ball. And he's probably looking at the right spot, looking at the feet, saying, he didn't, because if you catch it and you're out of bounds, it doesn't matter whether you caught it or not.
So his eyes are going to go to feet first to make sure that they're in.
Situation, yep. Now,
and then to see if the ball is caught.
At the college and the pro level, you're going to have a deep wing that's going to be stationed at the back of the end zone. So you got two pairs of eyes looking at that. And there you got a situation where if the player's running away from the short wing guy, he's going to look at feet, and the deep guy is going to have the ball. So they're both going to coordinate and talk about it when the play is over. This gentleman's out there on the wing. He did a heck of a job. He's by himself because the back judge has no great look at what's going on there whatsoever.
And I think we see that sometimes in college and pros. You'll see one signal that the catch is made,
right,
and then you'll ask the other one were the feet in bounds.
Right. And so they're supposed to look at each other and talk about it before a signal's made. And a lot of times they do, but sometimes if you've got the catch and you know it, then you're going to take the call.
Okay. Well, the next play we have was another pass interference that was called on St. Mary's. Again, it was to number 7. So you're going to see here on the right side of your screen, deep ball thrown over there and called pass interference for that contact right there.
Yeah, it looked like there was contact right there. The defender wasn't even looking at the football, so that makes him suspect. I mean, he's running down and looks like he definitely makes contact, and that's enough. Now, if the defender had been looking back towards the football and they were maybe just collided or their feet got tangled, you have nothing.
Okay.
But in that situation, it looks like there was a definite issue going on.
Okay, so it's more of, because we talked about that before. You're allowed to face guard in high school, right?
Yes, you are.
You don't necessarily have to be looking back at the ball.
Nope.
But the problem there is that he made contact.
He made
while
contact
he was face
before the
guard.
ball was there.
Okay.
Yep.
So you think that was the
I
right
think
call
that was
on
the
that?
right call on that,
All right.
on that one. Yes.
Okay. Well, the next call we have right here was a hook and ladder play.
Okay.
This was actually Salina for once.
Okay,
the
here
other
we go.
team throwing a hook and ladder, and a big hit there at the end.
Sure.
Was wondering again about the horse collar tackle, because you can see the St. Mary's defender at the very end of the hook and ladder pulls the guy down by the back there.
Well, let's see if we can see that right there. Yeah, it's tough to see whether or not he had the hands inside the shoulder pads. The jersey pulled him down. That may have not been the primary reason why he went down. We've got a hit by the corner coming up right there, and you can have that hold, but if that's not the real reason why you got tackled, maybe hit by another player, then you have a horse collar, even though that might have been part of it.
Yeah.
If somebody comes in there and makes a tackle or helps that tackle along, then the horse collar goes away. I think that was probably, did they call anything there?
No, nothing was called.
Good no call. In
Okay.
that situation. Good no call.
That's what I wanted to make sure. I wasn't sure if it was going to be called or not.
Right.
The next play here, it was a kind of a late pile up. The Salina coaches got a little angry that they wanted a late hit, I think. But I noticed on the field that you could see the whistles are called. So I thought, I didn't know what. Should they have called that dead sooner?
Well, let's just see
what are they
here.
looking for
Well,
there?
we're looking for forward progress right here. We got to play to the front stake. Forward progress is up there about the 32. They're driving him back. All right, and now we have a whistle. So the question becomes where they marked forward progress. Yeah, the coach didn't like it because we're pushing back. But the ball's already dead. The whistle doesn't kill anything. All right, the play's already over. And they're going to let that player try to get out of that. We can't hear the whistle, but the problem I have right there is where is forward progress? So it looked like he caught the ball and was stopped and pushed back at the 32, and we can't tell from the clip where they finally marked the forward progress.
They took a little bit to mark it there, and it was a very confusing play.
Right.
I wasn't sure if the Salina coaches were mad at the officials for not marking the forward progress farther,
that
or
could
if they were
very
mad
well
for
be.
the late hit, or both.
Could be a combination of both.
Okay. Well, we have a kind of a back to basics, pretty obvious face mask here, but I wanted to bring it up because it demonstrated what we talked about before. It looks like the guy rips his whole helmet off from the back.
Sure.
Number 3, freshman Eden Hinkle, helmet's just pulled off there at the end.
Yep, that's a good call because he can't reach underneath there. Any helmet opening is fair game as far as the foul goes. So
let's take a look at it again.
Yep.
It's right at the end there on the very left of the screen. Just pulls the helmet
pulls
off.
it right off. That's a good call for a face mask call. So
and that's a good demonstration of what we talked about earlier in the year. It doesn't have to be the face mask part. It's
correct.
The whole
It could
helmet.
be the ear hole. It could be reaching up under the top of the helmet, the back of the helmet. It's all the openings are fair game.
Gotcha. Well, we're going to go ahead and take a quick break here. While we're taking this break, hopefully we're going to have some individuals out here in our restaurant, in Guarneri's Pub, step up and ask us some questions. So if there's any burning official questions, referee questions, it's almost playoff time. Maybe some playoff questions.
There you go.
Step up and ask us, and let's hear from it. We'll be back right after this.
Okay.
Even though the music on the patio has come to an end, Guarneri's would like to thank everyone for joining them on the patio on Friday nights. Though the music has ended, stop in and try their signature Big Ralph sub, pizza, or calzone. Guarneri's on Spring Street in St. Mary's. Give them a call at 419-394-2244.
All right, we're back here. All right, anyone with a question, we need you to step up now. Let's hear from you.
No question.
We got one. There we go.
So it's, the playoffs are coming up, and I wanted to know how they pick the playoff crews, if you guys are graded, and then before their games, if you guys get to know your crew members.
That's a good question. Throughout the season, the coaches, ADs, assigners local officials, secretaries will vote for who they think can work in the playoffs. And those votes are tabulated at the OHSAA office in Columbus. So the folks that are working this year, they were voted on last year. So the crews are put together based on votes. You may have a crewmate or two that you've worked with all year on your crew. I have one of my crewmates on my crew, but the other 3 guys are coming from different crews in the area. And so we will stay together throughout our playoff run. And I fortunately know 2 of the 3 guys that are going to be on the crew, and we'll get together before the game, and we have a pregame conference, and we're required to be at the game site this first week 2 hours before game time, and we'll go through our pregame conference and iron things out. But with crews coming in put together, if they're on a playoff crew, they've had some experience, and we normally don't have any issues with one another once we get into it. So it's possible, but hopefully a pregame conference will work some of those things out, and you learn to trust your crewmates. That answer your question? Great.
Hey, Mark.
Yes.
Hey, officiating question. I saw one of these plays, this play in a freshman game. Play was dead, whistle dead. Player was on his back, got pancaked, basically. The guy was over top of him, holding him down.
Right.
Now, and he's fighting to get out.
Right.
The guy on the ground got called the penalty, the unsportsman. I mean, as the referee, would you this is 4, 5, 6 seconds after the play's dead.
Right.
So just like the throwing the fist on number 10.
Yeah, you're going to give them consideration. Obviously, nobody likes to be held down on the field. I mean,
right.
you've gotten pancake. You're feeling terrible about that already. Now you just want to get up, and sure, you're fighting to get up. And a lot of times, a word by the officials to both of them will say, "Hey, you guys, let him up. Let's go. Let's get out of here." Now, unless a punch was thrown or something like that, I mean, those we take pretty serious. But just trying to fight your way up, you're going to give some consideration there, or should, in my opinion. Right. Now, remember, this is 38 years talking in a lot of football. Right. So somebody else might not see it that way. And you try to diffuse that stuff if you can, because really and truthfully, separate them when we live to play another play.
Move on, right.
That would be my opinion, yes.
Because, look, he's trying to get up.
Sure, he tried to get up, and the other guy's
my thing is this is 5 seconds after the play. He should have been called for taunting.
Well,
right.
Could possibly been, or just about the official said, hey, get off. Don't be doing that crap anymore. Go and let's move on. Right.
All right. Thanks, Mark.
You're welcome.
We have anybody else for some questions out there? Oh, we got another one.
Here we go. All right, this is kind of a weird one, but in the NFL, pass interference is a spot foul. Do you think high school should be a spot foul?
No. The majority of fouls, the majority of passes in high school are thrown less than 10 yards. So, we got a 15-yard penalty here. Used to be we have 15 yards and automatic first down. A couple of years ago, they took away the automatic first down provision, mainly because it's such a big deal to the defense there. Now, we do have in our arsenal, if pass interference is intentional, we can issue another 15 yards on top of the original 15. The powers that be at the OSHA office tell us to stay away from that. And rarely do we hear coaches talk about that, because I don't think, quite honestly, they know that's available. It is. But no, I do not. I like it the way it is now, because, 15 yards and automatic first down is a big deal. Spot foul could be huge downfield, and this isn't the NFL or even college where they do some of that sometimes too. So it's easier to officiate for officials, truthfully, if we keep it where it's at.
I think we got a
Zach, we actually
here.
have a submitted question via YouTube.
Submitted question via YouTube. Here you go, Mark.
This is from Mark Huber, who runs the controls at the Rough Rider games. He says, if both teams are ready to play, can the pregame clock and halftime clock be stopped and reset for play, or must the clock run to 0 and then put the time up to 12 minutes?
It's a good question. Most definitely, if both teams are ready to go and both coaches agree, especially in a pre-kickoff clock, you can stop it and then set it to 12 minutes and away we can go. That rarely happens, because especially if there's radio, TV, or whatever at the game, those folks count on that time to run commercials, things of that nature. Half times must be at least 10 minutes, all right, by rule. But it is possible to shorten the halftime by agreement of the opposing coaches. You could say, well, look, we got a minute left on the 20-minute halftime. Let's cut that short. And I've had that happen. The weather's bad. The weather's cold, whatever. We're ready to go. Let's play. Sure, no problem. But what can't happen is that 3-minute warm-up at halftime. That must run to its completion. There's no getting around that by rule. And that's a safety factor more than anything else. So, the halftime could be shortened, but the 3-minute warm-up period cannot. So there you go.
Mark, you were talking earlier about the playoffs and the different squads for your playoff. I noticed when I was in the press box over the past couple of years during the playoff games, there would be extra officials. It seemed like they weren't wearing anything, so they weren't officials, but they were keeping track of where the officials were on the field, whether they had made the right calls, right areas. Is that from the OSHA? Is that from your organization? Who are those people, and what are they looking for?
I can help you out with that. Those were probably the officiating crew's observers. Okay, they're kind of like the technical advisor of the college game. We're there basically to observe the actions and the mechanics of the crew. And our jobs are to help the crew possibly improve from the first half to second half. Mechanics changes or mechanics improvements, things of that nature. We're not there to criticize. We are there to make notes and to help the crew at halftime and to talk about the game afterwards, things that would make that crew better. And actually, the comments and things of that nature are submitted to the OSHA office so that they may make changes or improve officiating here in Ohio. And I will tell you this, there are a lot of states out there that wish they had what we have. They make fun of our gold book mechanics, but Dr. Maurer does a great job and works long hours putting that stuff together for us. And Ohio officiating has come a long way in the dozen or year so's that he's been involved in the game. So that's what those people are there for. They're just there to observe and really not get involved in the game whatsoever other than that.
Kind of a follow-up along the line. Dax Gruber from YouTube says, do refs ever look back at the film and say, I made the wrong call?
I'm sorry, say that again, Rich.
He said, do refs ever look back at the film and say, I made the wrong call?
Absolutely, we do. Absolutely. We love to get game film. And in fact, we ask as a crew for the coaches to send us film of the game through Huddle. They make it available to us. Some are hesitant, thinking we're going to use it for nefarious purposes. We don't. Our crew, we use it, and I use it to pick apart our crew. Sure, we're not perfect. If we were, we wouldn't be working. But we love to look at the film, love to pick out things that we may have missed, and a lot of times pick out things that we got right that maybe the coaches questioned during the game. And it's good to know that you've got things right. Yes, you mess up, but you learn from those things and you move on.
And I guess a little bit behind the scenes, you've actually taken some of the clips that we've used here for rules of the game and used those in those meetings to try to educate people in the future. So it looks like we are here again at Guarneri's Pub in St. Mary's on Spring Street. Want to go ahead and get a round of applause for Guarneri's Pub, please. They've been great hosts, and want to thank them again for this. We have a couple questions here.
I'm Caitlin Wolf.
I'm Lainey Hemmelgarn.
And we were recently at a game where it was a really close call on if it was a first down or not. And they moved the ball to the chains. I didn't know if that should be allowed or not.
Were you at the Marion Minster game by chance? Well, I can tell you it wasn't our crew. I can tell you that. But to answer your question, the proper mechanics there is for the crew members that was on the line of scrimmage to come running in as far as they can come before they meet what we call resistance. Maybe players away, then they have to stop. So it's possible that the ball was brought out to them because they have the spot. All right. Now, if the ball was brought out along and then put down, that's probably not the proper way to do things. Is that the feeling that you all got at the game there the other night? Yeah, that's what I heard about that.
Yeah, we still won, so it was okay.
Oh, so you're Minster folks. Is that it?
Yeah.
Okay, yeah. So the calls went in your favor is what happened, right? Yeah. So I wasn't there, so I don't know. Did they bring the ball out quite a ways and then set it down?
Yeah, they brought out almost like it was almost at like the halfway, and then they came out.
Where did the ball start from? The middle of the field?
Mhm.
Yeah, that was probably didn't look very good. Technically, it can happen, but it doesn't look very good. No, it did not, did it? No, it did not. Thanks, ladies.
Yeah, thank you.
We're going to go ahead and take a quick commercial break here at Gwinnett as we hopefully have some more. We have some latecomers that are going to come up and ask some questions, I think. So we'll be back right after this.
Even though the music on the patio has come to an end, Gwinnett would like to thank everyone for joining them on the patio on Friday nights. Though the music has ended, stop in and try their signature Big Ralph sub, pizza, or calzone. Gwinnett on Spring Street in St. Mary's. Give them a call at 419-394-2244.
Welcome back to Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco. I want to again thank Gwinnett Pub and Pizzeria for hosting us here tonight, Spring Street in St. Mary's, home of the Big Ralph hoagie, pizza, and calzone. I also have Rider Aid on Friday nights before, during, and after the game. Mark, Rider Nation Station is going to be broadcasting this Friday night's game, the last game of the season at home at Grand Lake Health System Field. And we are very excited for that. We want to remind everybody watching at home to click subscribe right now on the YouTube. It does not cost any money. Click subscribe, and it'll notify you every time that we have a new video that comes up. That's the only way that we're going to grow our station and keep bringing you better videos in the future. Also, be sure to follow us on Facebook, like us, share us on there, share our YouTube videos on Facebook. That'll help us grow all around. So thank you again, Mark. We've got a couple more questions. Dave?
Yeah, hi, Mark. I want to draw your attention to a play that I saw this weekend with the Ohio State-Wisconsin game. And I'm sure there's a parallel as far as high school goes as well. The Wisconsin center, he sort of flubbed the ball when he went to the snap never really took place, but there's a penalty called. I was wondering if you could explain that scenario.
I'm guessing that was probably called a snap infraction by the officials. A snap has to be quick and continuous in a backward motion, and to be completed, it must leave the hands of the snapper, center, and either touch the ground or a player in the backfield. Most times it's quarterback or wherever. So if I remember the play right, the ball kind of squirted out from the center's hands. It might have been wet or wherever. And rather than let the ball be still live and possibly the defense game a cheap fumble, so to speak, the ball is still dead. The snap had never been completed, and truthfully, it never really started. And it would be a 5-yard penalty against the defense or the offense. Down doesn't change. If it was first down, it still stays first down. And we put the ball down and we go on to the next play.
Now can a defensive player be called for a snap infraction, or would that just be an encroachment?
That would be something else. In past years, defenders have tried to reach across the neutral zone where the ball's at. And when the center started to snap it, some of them are quick enough to slap the ball away. Many years ago, that was a live ball, but they have ruled that that's not, the snap never really was completed, and we don't have a play until the snap is completed or at least finalized. So that would have been a foul on the defense for basically being in the neutral zone, an encroachment foul, if you will. So it would have cost them 5 yards, and that puts a stop to a defender trying to slap the ball away, because otherwise you got somebody quick enough, all you get done to do is slapping the ball in his hands, and that's no fun for anybody. So that's where that comes from.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
I think we got some more. Another question, Mike?
Another one, as technology improves and you got, this station right here remote, you got replay in NFL, replay in college. Do you think you'll ever see a replay at the high school level?
It would be hard pressed during the regular season. Now, the Ohio High School Athletic Association has said that there will be replay of some sort in the state championship games, those final 7 games. And that's only because there's going to be, a certain amount of cameras there. Otherwise, it's just too costly to put it on a regular Friday night or even in the lower levels of the high school game. I don't see that happening in Ohio. You may have some of that in Texas, where some of those crowds can be 10, 12, 15,000 people for a high school game on a Friday night. Not here in Ohio, not for a long time. And I know I'll never see it. It's probably not going to happen at the regular Friday night level. We'll start with the state championships and maybe work down, but it's a lot of money to do that, and somebody's got to provide all that equipment.
Mark, speaking about playoffs, does the Ohio High School Athletic Association or any other authorities, do they ask you to treat anything different about the playoffs? Do they give you any kind of warnings or anything like that, or is it just business as usual?
It's pretty much business as usual. It's still the game. The same rules apply. Problem is, one, you lose, you go home. Now they will tell us, make the calls, be there, make them be big. You don't want to be, too technical on things, but you still have to officiate the game. There's a heightened sense of awareness there. The crews come together. They want to do a great job. The teams know that it's live or die. So it's every snap is means something for the most part. Now you get those games where they're out of hand early. It's possible, especially in the early rounds, but it's still a great atmosphere. And for officials, it's business as usual, but they do say, look, make them be there, make it be big. Nothing we call ticky-tacky.
Do you have more fights or more personal fouls during the playoffs, do you think?
Normally not. I mean, once you get in the playoff rounds, actually the number of fouls go down.
Right.
You might get a false start here or there. Rarely will you see two teams that really hate each other and you're going to do anything other than play football. But there's too much at stake.
Right.
No, it's a pleasure to work in the postseason. Teams are well disciplined and they most of the time deserve to be there. And it's a nice time in the state of Ohio.
All right. Well, I think that oh, nope, we have one more question, at least one more. All right, Doug?
All righty, Mark, I've got actually two questions. And the first question is, what happens if a team has already exhausted all of their timeouts, yet they call timeouts?
That's a great question.
Can we call that the Michigan rule
for basketball?
Well, in football, once they're out of timeouts, they're out. All right. If they call another one and the officials grant it, we are supposed to, at the time we realize that we shouldn't have granted it, basically say, look, there's no timeout. It's over. I'm not giving you any more time. Let's get back to playing. And it's our fault if we do that. We are told that there should be nothing like that. I know there's a penalty for that in basketball. I don't know what it is, but there's no penalty in football to do that. If we grant a timeout, that's on us. And we've made a mistake. We had a situation in that crew many years ago. Team was out of timeouts, and they called one, and we granted it until we realized, oh, they're out. And then, so 15 seconds or whatever, like, all right, we got to get back into the game. And they knew they called the timeout and shouldn't have, so there was no argument. We messed up. And boy, you don't like to mess up on something like that. That's mechanical, administrative thing that you just shouldn't get wrong. We did, and we moved on. And and we learned from that big time.
And there's no penalty?
No penalty at all. Nope. Other than us feeling bad for doing it.
Okay. And before I ask my final question, failed to mention to Zach that actually Rider Nation Station, one of the sponsors, TSC, is actually showing Rules of the Game with Mark Cisco and the Doug Fry Show on Wednesdays. So you can either watch it via YouTube or you can just check it out on the TSC channels, 13.1 and 702.
Good deal.
And be able to watch these shows there as well.
Excellent.
My final question is the tool belts of an official. Every once in a while, you'll see an official throw his hat down, and then particularly on punts, they play the bing bag toss.
Right.
And could you just talk a little bit about why they are doing the tossing of the hat or the tossing of the bean bag?
All right, so we carry flags, we carry bean bags. Some of the back judges will have timers on their belts in case the play clock goes down. We have wristwatches, whistles, down indicators, all that's tools of the trade. The bean bags are used on a punt to mark the end of the kick. That spot might be important if we have a foul called during the kick itself, because that's a spot of enforcement possibly, or we need to know where we might have to measure a foul from. A lot of times there's nothing there. It's not a big deal. But should you ever need that spot, you're glad you have it. Bean bags are also used on fumbles, where to mark the spot of a fumble, because that indicates the end of a run. And in penalty enforcement, that end of the run has some significance possibly should there be a flag on the play. So that's the bean bag. The hat's normally thrown if we have a receiver mainly receiver run out of bounds or get pushed out of bounds, that just indicates to everybody that, hey, this guy's run out of bounds, whether it was on purpose, by accident, or got shoved out. That's our mechanic. It just lets the rest of the crew know, hey, something's up. We may have an issue to deal with, and we may not, depending on what happens during the play.
Okay, and then tossing the flag to mark where they thought the foul in, or tossing the beanbag for, where the kick was. What if you're not a very good thrower like my friend Dave?
Well,
do you adjust it?
Well, you can adjust it. Matter of fact, I had a play like that Friday night. I was the referee, and there was a play downfield where we had a blindside block. And the umpire and I both saw it. I was out with the flag, but I'm throwing it a long way. I'm throwing it 25, trying to throw it 30 yards. And, in a little bit of wind, against the wind, it doesn't go that far. My umpire was on the spot pretty much, and I came up and I picked mine up and put it where his was. It's perfectly fine. We had a pretty good idea of where the foul occurred, but those fouls should be with the same foul, so we want to make it so it's at the same spot. So, yes, it can be adjusted. We're told to throw at the yard line, not at the player, things of that nature, because normally a spot like that doesn't matter. If we get to the yard line, especially if we're outside the hash, we know what we're going to mark it from. So,
thank you.
You're welcome.
Well, after that spurious insult, I don't know if I should ask this question. You mentioned the wideout or a player running out of bounds.
Right.
So what's the rule on that? If he goes out of bounds on his own, can he come back into play?
He cannot. An offensive player cannot come back in legally if he runs out on his own or steps out of bounds accidentally, for that matter. Running out is not a foul. Coming back in is. So at that point, he would be guilty of illegal participation. So if he goes out, he should stay out.
And if he gets pushed out, he can come
Pushed
back
out, something different. Gets blocked out of bounds, pushed out of bounds by a defender, he can certainly come back in at his earliest opportunity. He can't hide out on the sideline and run several yards and then come in. He must come in. And therefore, it takes special attention by the official to watch this one player to see what he's going to do. And therefore, the hat, and we know where he went out. The hat's really not a spot of enforcement. It's just to let people know, hey, he's out, whether he got pushed or ran out on his own. It's just important for us to know that, especially as a referee.
Now, so that would be the line judge that's going to be watching?
Normally, it's going to be one of the wing guys out there on the wing is going to catch that, yes.
Is he going to give any instruction to the player, you're out, or
No.
nothing at all?
No, there's too much going on. Don't have time to talk to him or something like that. Now, he may say, as he's running by or whatever, hey, you're out, stay out, stay out. But that's just trying to be preventative and officiating and help them not create a foul. But normally, you're busy doing other stuff and concentrating to worry about that.
All right, thank you.
You're welcome.
Mark, I just have another question that I thought of. Earlier this week was the World Series. There was a pretty controversial call in Game 6 and talked about playing the game under protest. Is that a thing?
Not in Ohio, there's not.
Okay.
There are some states that will grant protests, but Ohio does not honor any protest whatsoever.
Okay.
In high school sports. It's just not possible at the high school level. Now, that doesn't prevent people from filing suit in court, and you being an attorney could know that that's possible. But fortunately, in Ohio, most judges here will say, you know what, you all agreed to play by the rules. And what happened on the field, we're going to let that at that level with the officials, and their rulings are final, go away.
And we have seen that some games have been forfeited after the fact for playing an ineligible player.
That's a different situation altogether.
Is there any other reason that could be forfeited other than that you know of?
How the OHSA has a myriad of rules with dealing with players and eligibility and things of that nature. But as far as the game themselves, they flat out come in their directives that protests will not be honored, so don't even bother.
Okay. I just thought about that because it came up this week, and I was wondering if there's any sort of procedure like that in high school. So
nope.
I think that we have extinguished all of our questions for tonight.
Good deal.
We hopefully will maybe be having back here later in the season, maybe in the playoffs. We for sure will have a show next week.
Okay.
For Rules of the Game after the Defiance game. So be sure to check us out for Rules of the Game. Also be sure to check out Rider Nation Station, broadcasting the Defiance St. Mary's football game, as well as all of the St. Mary's playoff games. We'll be sure to see you guys next week. Thank you for joining us for Rules of the Game. Good night.
This episode of Rider Nation Station has been
everyone.
By American Manufacturing Solutions, your total logistic partner, investing in the St. Mary's community.
Even though the music on the patio has come to an end, Guarneri's would like to thank everyone for joining them on the patio on Friday nights. Though the music has ended, stop in and try their signature Big Ralph sub, pizza, or calzone. Guarneri's on Spring Street in St. Mary's. Give them a call at 419-394-2244.